Bend you over my knee.
Sad.
Oh, we're recording. Oh, jeez. Hi,
day,
everybody.
Star Wars fans. Peter Mayhew passed away.
Yeah.
Oh,
it's horrible. I am such a horrible person. Do you like to know why?
what?
Because he probably finally saw The Last Jedi. Too soon?
Too soon.
Oh
my God. Speaking of, this is going to be super nerdy over everyone's head, but I'm going to say it anyway. Mm-hmm. So, you know who Thrawn is? The character Thrawn, the blue guy?
The blue guy. Yeah, blue guy, yeah.
So there's been Thrawn novels in the past that were really popular. Well, they did a recent run. You know, Thrawn Alliances was the sequel book. I listened to both of them. Me and Anthony Anthony is going back and listening to them because the new one's coming out in July. But in Alliances, it's about Darth Vader and Thrawn. But in the book, it talks about it because in the first book, it talks about he knew Anakin Skywalker. Well, in this book, in Alliances, it's Thrawn and Darth Vader teaming up to go on this mission. But it also has flashbacks to whenever Thrawn and Anakin Skywalker met. One of the biggest things about Alliances is most of it takes place on a planet called Batuu, which is like this. It's like this outpost outer rim planet. And when we first listened to it, we're like, oh, it's just a cool place or whatever. But this is where it gets interesting. The Galaxy's Edge theme park that Disney is having at Disney World and Disneyland is Batuu, the same place that's in the Book of Alliances. And so Anthony's re-listening to it. He texted me. He goes, wait a minute. What if Anakin was born on Batuu? Because in The Phantom Menace, he said he moved to Tatooine when he was 3. And what if they got their name Skywalker? Because in Thrawn, I can't remember what species he is, but they have a term. They have a word that's Skywalker, and it means great pilot, basically. And they're like, what? It's something along those lines. It was like, but what if he was named after some of these principles by this race? And so I started putting 2 and 2 together. I'm like, okay, they're opening this park before the next movie comes out. The next movie is called The Rise of Skywalker. So what if everything's connected and we're going to get Anakin again? Oh my God, I'm going to be so excited. I'm so excited. There's actually
why would we get Anakin again?
Oh, there's actually a rumor that, or there are some people said something like they had seen that Hayden Christensen had come in to do some lines for the new movie. So that could be something like a flashback, like how Rey had the flashback whenever she touched the lightsaber, maybe something like that. So I'm thinking The Rise of Skywalker may have something to do with Darth Vader and Anakin. And now I'm super excited. I can't wait to talk about this. I got to talk about this at some point.
I just like I wish I could be excited, you know, like I wish I could be there, you know, and even for the people who hated The Last Jedi, like a lot of them were trying to say that, oh, this looks like they're changing everything. It's like, yeah, but The Last Jedi trailer was good too. A lot of people like The Last Jedi. So for them to, you know, and for every person saying, oh, it looks like they're fixed everything. First off, it's a fucking teaser. How the fuck do you know that they fixed anything?
Well, here's the thing.
Making conjectures, just like you think Joaquin Phoenix,
bless you,
is going to be the best Joker. Okay, stop making such huge fucking assumptions off of trailers. Let me fucking talk, Nate. Damn it. Okay, but other than that, just as many people who are trying to make the conjecture that, oh, it looks like they fixed everything, which is fucking bullshit. But just as many people who are saying that, there's people pointing out that, no, this is just the marketing department. And yes, of course it's the fucking marketing department, because the marketing department saw this shitstorm from The Last Jedi and realizes that, yeah, we need them to think that we've changed everything. Whether or not J.J. Abrams came in and wipes the slate clean because it's a time jump of like 5 years or something is irrelevant. It's irrelevant because either way, I can't get excited for something that just where does it go? You know, and instead of the mystery box being something that's exciting and I can't wait to figure out where it goes, the mystery box is a fucking nuisance at this point.
What I was going to say is the Rise of Skywalker is guaranteed not going to be The Last Jedi. That's the conjecture that I will make right now, that this will not have the same tale that The Last Jedi is. And I'm speaking I'm saying that in terms of if you just look at the facts of it. So Rian Johnson, good director. His whole like creative process is these very interesting out there ideas. Looper, the prime example. Looper is a mindfuck movie. So when he was first pinned to do The Last Jedi, I was like, okay, I love Looper. Let's see what this guy can do. He's in sci-fi, but not in terms of space. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like whatever you want to say about The Force Awakens was good.
Yeah.
Yes, it was a lot of fan service. Yes, it was very nostalgic heavy. That's the main point of the movie. Is it's very much a recreation of A New Hope. But I think in a way it needed to be, and it was good that it was, because A New Hope, for everybody who grew up with that movie, that was their first taste of Star Wars.
Yeah, of course.
The Force Awakens is a new generation's first taste of Star Wars.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? So it needed to be that. I trust J.J. Abrams wholeheartedly. Any sci-fi venture he's done, I'm good with. You know, he's had some bad eggs, but like I find it impressive that for the longest time, for a lot of people, Star Trek was the shit. Like it was the greatest for everybody, but it was also a meme. It was also like, oh, you like Star Trek, fucking nerd.
Right.
In her first Star Trek movie, he was able to make Star Trek, I don't want to say relevant again, but he was able to, like, just the idea of it's in the same universe, but we're changing time.
Right.
It was like, oh, that's fascinating. That's a way to make a new Star Trek movie, but make it still important to everyone else. Do I think that The Rise of Skywalker is going to have a lot of fan service like The Force Awakens? Yes, I do. Yes, I 100% do. Because I feel like they for them, if I'm thinking like them, they need to be reactionary in a sense because of the backlash of The Last Jedi. But I also think that JJ has a good idea and has a good plan to end this saga.
Hopefully.
Here's the thing. I'm also have a lot of hope here. This is like the Infinity Saga. This is the end of the Skywalker saga. They said this is the end.
Right.
They can't fuck this up. They just can't do it. They can't do it. And
I mean, after a tee up like The Force Awakens, you would have thought they couldn't have fucked up The Last Jedi.
Well, the biggest problem with The Last Jedi 2 is that a lot of it was, you love this about Star Wars? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
Right.
I know JJ's not going to do that. I mean, when in the trailer you have Palpatine laughing and you have like the wrecked Death Star.
Yeah.
That immediately means we're not going to Snoke you. We're not going to be like, oh, everything you love, it doesn't fucking matter. It really doesn't matter.
And I mean, like, I said it once, I'll say it 1,000 times. The biggest thing, like right now, I think maybe the biggest thing that would get me to actually go see this movie is if they came out publicly and apologized for the way that people were being treated, you know, because I feel like that was the biggest FU. The movie itself was, you know, in some fans' eyes, a fuck you. You know, because it took characters that we knew and love and it made them in a different light. And yes, people change over time, yada, yada. We're not going to go down that road. But it was the treatment of fans afterwards, basically saying that, like, having a quote that this was not made for Star Wars fans is the stupidest thing I've ever heard. Yeah. Not only that, but somebody just coming out and having legitimate reasons for not liking the movie and being labeled as just another hater, you know? And obviously there's some racist motherfuckers out there that deserve to like die in a, you know, Rancor pit or something. But that's not every single person who didn't like The Last Jedi. And making such a broad strokes that if you didn't like that, that means you're a racist. Making those broad type of strokes that they did was wrong. And it would have been one thing if Daisy Ridley, is that her name?
Mm.
It would have been one thing if he did it or she did it, or who's the I was going on to who's the guy?
Finn?
Yeah.
John Boyega.
Or even Oscar Isaac. If one of them came out and was, high on themselves and be like, whatever, you're just a bunch of haters. But the fucking creator of the movie and Kathleen Kennedy coming out and talking shit like that was unnecessary.
I saw Ryan's. I never saw Kathleen's.
Well, Kathleen in general, she went on the whole, like, the Force is female or something, which inherently isn't a bad thing, but when you use it as a weapon, it is. Just like this controller is not a bad thing. It helps me control my PlayStation. It gives me joy because I play games with it. But then if I use this to bludgeon someone to death, that's what makes it bad. And I really feel like the Force is female was on the surface a nice sentiment, but then they started using it as a weapon. They started using it like, the Force is female, and so that means like it was almost exclusionary. It wasn't inclusionary, like, hey, females can use the Force too. It was exclusionary, basically saying that this movie is not for you if you liked the Star Wars. And they knew that the key demographic were males. And so by using it in that way that they did and calling people who didn't like it, sexist and stuff like that, by using it that way, it was just so unnecessary. So an apology in the shape of a good movie is not enough for me. An actual apology, some kind of actual, they don't even have to say we fucked up. I mean, that's not necessarily, because then they'd have to admit doing something wrong, but some kind of statement that says that, the situation was not handled to the best of its ability. It's super PR, but us true fans who were being shit on would know what they meant. And I feel like that would be the only reason I'd see it on day one.
There is
go ahead. Because I mean that was pretty much it.
I do have to give The Last Jedi a big shout out. The biggest accomplishment that The Last Jedi made was the fact of they made the prequel movies that much more enjoyable. And I didn't know that was possible. No, here's the thing. I enjoy the prequel movies. The reason why I like the original trilogy better is because it was different directors. Mm-hmm. It was different storytelling, and I really enjoyed that.
This trilogy just had the bad nature of them not having an outline. They're like, J.J. Abrams, here, you set up this, and then,
I'm talking about the prequels more than anything. That's a lot of the biggest problem, is that George directed all of them, and George wanted to do what George wanted to do, which was load like a lot of shit with CGI because it was the biggest technology, in a bad way. But like Revenge of the Sith is still one of my all-time favorite Star Wars movies because it's the moment to moment situations. Like Battle of the Heroes. Anytime I hear that theme, I'm like, I gotta watch it. I gotta watch it now. Attack of the Clones, it's whatever. It's there. It's enjoyable, but like, and I've even had this conversation with Anthony, my friend Anthony, because both of us are big pre-show guys. We're both big Star Wars guys. We had a Star Wars podcast, which we want to bring up again, which we might, that's one of the things that we've talked about was potentially making that something. But anyway, we've talked recently about The Last Jedi. And he was like, you know what? Because me and him were both in the same mindset. We, as a movie, we're like, it's all right. We enjoyed it. It has its moments. We weren't of the class of.
So it's been an act this whole time.
What?
You getting all uppity has been an act this whole time.
Well, so this is what I'm getting at. Is I haven't seen it again. I'm gonna watch it again before I see The Rise of Skywalker. Just because that's what I did for The Last Jedi. I watched Force Awakens beforehand. But he was like, I went back and watched it recently, and the farther I'm away from it, the more I feel like it falls apart. And it's one of those that I kind of agree with that sentiment. Like the farther we get away from it, the more I'm like, okay, you know, I don't want it to never exist. I'm not that type of person that wants any kind of,
right.
I'm not the type, unless it's like truly like flagrant, like completely fucked up shit. I don't want anything to just be erased from history. I don't think that's necessary. The Last Jedi, be what it is, has a place in this universe in some extent. There's things that it does that sets up very interesting things. Mainly Kylo and Rey. That, like, I enjoyed
Kylo.
Solo. And the whole stuff with Luke, I still enjoy the whole stuff with Luke. Like, a lot of people were pissed about that, but when you like break it down and watch it over and over again, I sympathize with him. I see where he's coming from. Like, I understand his characterization. But when you put everything together, it can be construed as another way of saying, hey, fuck what you love. We're doing this.
Yeah.
You know, so there's, you know, it's one of those that it exists. There's parts I really enjoy. I still think that this movie, and I don't think anybody else can argue with this, The Last Jedi has the best cinematography ever in any Star Wars movie ever made. I think The Rise of Skywalker will give it a run for its money, at least by the teaser, because those shots in the teaser were fucking like just visually, the shots in the teaser were fucking phenomenal. The forest scene with Kylo, the whole, but still, when you're talking about cinematics and visuals, like that's an accurate statement. The whole scene, like, when she is jumping over the TIE fighter, that looks stunning. The scene of him in the forest, the colorization, the way the camera moves, looks stunning. You know, the shots, like, it doesn't, when you watch The Force Awakens, you can see that even in the cinematography, it has DNA from A New Hope. Like, it looks very similar. There's nothing special about the cinematography. The Last Jedi, you have the scene, the Lightspeed ship scene. You have the throne room battle, which are visually stunning. From the teaser, it looks like they're going to follow that same path and give us truly stunning visuals. And Rogue One was great with that too. Like, all of the shots in Rogue One, like especially the first scene, like when the Death Troopers, the Death Troopers, when they were like on the farmland, just a wide pan shot was like, that's beautiful. Like, that looks awesome. So I didn't expect this to be a Star Wars heavy pre-show. I really didn't. I really, really didn't. But also, everyone watching or listening, if you're not happy with the Sonic visuals, the director said that they're actually going to change his final look when the movie comes out. So that's fascinating. Speaking of cinematography.
Yeah.
So speaking of Apex, there is, Nick, one thing that I am watching on the subreddit of, do you know the whole thing about Mirage being able to, we talked about it, but the actual, him being able to block, his decoys being able to block things.
Yeah.
There's a post, someone doing a video of throwing a grenade in Arc Star in front of the decoy and nothing happening. So that's kind of cool. And something we already talked about, but something popped up.
All right. You just want to start the show?
Kylo. Let me get my timer up.
Timer.
I got the horses in the bag.
I guess I need to get ready, huh?
I know. I thought the same thing. I was like, oh, I don't even have that ready.
I almost don't want to. It's like, what the fuck is the point? Just have to deal with the fucking delay. At least online, we don't have to fucking deal with the delay. You know what I mean? Or like, I felt like the volume was also like equalized.
It was.
You know what? Fuck it. I'm sorry. I don't give a shit right now to even care enough to do it. So I'm not doing it until we can figure out how to make that better or whatever. I say fuck it, because I'd rather people be able to fucking hear us than, you know, the quality be absolute pristine, which, you know, obviously I still want to have pristine, but yeah, I feel like it makes more sense to do this.
Okay, all right. Let's do this.
What?
Here, I'm going to start the timer, and then both of us do jazz hands.
Okay.
That's so I can scrub through and see where I need to start.
Okay.
Okay, and start timer. Just hands. Just hands. I was going to put my shirt up, but I was like, oh, never mind. I'm not going to do that.
I don't know if I'm in the mood, man. I think we took too long.
I was just thinking this would be like a 20, 30 minute conversation about Respawn.
Yeah.
Because it would work too, because we talked about it, say, going back to the end of our last episode, we wanted to really give a shout out to Respawn.
Okay.
And we could title it a shout out to Respawn.
Dairy. Legendary. What's up, legends? I am... I don't know. Is that how it goes? Like, I'm having...
Legendary. What's up, legends?
Dairy. Legendary. What's up, legends? And welcome back to another Hop Up Cast. I'm one of your hosts, Nick.
And with him, as always, is your boy, Nate.
Hey, guys. How you doing? So just in case I have anybody who's confused, as we said last episode, we are doing a little bit of a restructure. So now this week is Hop Up. Next week will be Hubcast. Then Hop Up, Hubcast, Hop Up, Hubcast. So this is your more casual thing. And right at the... Oh, my God. I hate when this happens. Respawn, if you're listening, fuck you. Why do you do this to us? Why? Every time we record, Nate, he slaves away at editing, and he's like, publish, and then it's like, Respawn puts out another update. And we're like, no! Why?
It never fails. It legitimately never fails.
And we even switched days specifically to combat that, because before they would do it on a Wednesday and we recorded on either Monday or Tuesday, but it would be out on a Tuesday. So that's why we did this in the first place. But anyways, what was I saying? Oh, right after we get done publishing it, Respawn puts out their update, and basically in so many words, they were responding to the to me, really. I mean, come on, have you seen me on Twitter? Like, they were responding to me.
Specifically to you.
Yes, specifically. Like, Nick, we hear you. Please don't make this go viral. Anyways, but they were responding to the Epic reports and the EA reports. And what I was alluding to just now was I put out a tweet and I was like, hey, can you put us at ease? Can you let us know? Because not only are you a battle royale, which is the main problems that was going on with Epic, but you're also affiliated with EA. So put our minds at ease. Let us know that this is not how you guys run things. And sure enough, here comes Respawn. They came out and they were talking about the fact that they don't have a lot of content coming out. And it's because of that reason, essentially. I can't remember the way they worded it exactly, but they made sure to put in the health of our staff. And the fact that they made sure to use that wording was very important to me personally, because that's what everybody who are talking out against, 60 to 100 hour work weeks. That's one thing that is a common thread to anybody who talks about it, is the health of your staff. They're not just machines like a computer where when a part goes wrong, you just replace the part. That's not how people work, and people don't deserve to be treated that way. And so the fact that not only did they say that that's not the type of work force that we cultivated, or something along those lines, but then right after that, following it up with the line about the health of their staff. Thank you.
So we put it in this, like he said, it happened after we started recording. So we made sure to put in the statement in the last episode. But if you didn't check that out, I'll go ahead and read it for you. Basically what they say is, in the statement, Jason Schreier was the one who tweeted this out. They say, we know that in addition to addressing issues with the game, everyone is hungry for us to add new content. The studio culture that we've worked hard to cultivate and the health of our team are very important. Mm-hmm. We take those things into account when we discuss our content roadmap, the production schedule, and the frequency in which we can update the game. Our long-term goal is to ensure Apex Legends always feels alive and thriving, with a focus on quality of content over novelty of speed of release. Yep. At the same time, we want to maintain our culture as a development team and avoid crunch that can quickly lead to burnout or worse.
Yep. I mean, bravo. I mean, this was, I want to say, anywhere from 24 to 48 hours after the article about Epic came out. And just in case you've been living under a rock, the what am I trying to say?
You're talking about Fortnite, but the workplace,
Yes, the workplace at Fortnite, essentially there are people to this day that still work 100-hour weeks. And considering that this game has been out for a while is ridiculous. Like, how is that still a thing? Like, when it was first being developed or whatever, and they were working on crunch because it's like a month away from being released or something, not that I condone it, but it would at least make sense, right?
Correct. The fact of that, your statement alone, the fact of it's been out this long and Epic is that big and that aware of what's going on, that they're still doing this,
right?
There's something wrong there.
Right. And I mean, then you look at it and it's like, well, they do put stuff out on a regular basis or whatever, but at the cost of their employees' sanity, essentially.
Now, we don't know, of course, the actual details of this. We don't know if they're being forced to do this, or the article, what I read out of it was there are people who are, I feel Italian right now if you're watching the video. It made it sound like there are people, they're not being forced to do this. There are people who are working hard on these assets, want to make sure they get them out, that they are working 100-hour weeks. That's what I took out of it. I didn't take it out of, hey, we're forcing our staff to work 100-hour weeks.
Well, and there's definitely an argument between quote unquote forcing them, or hey, that new promotion is here, and are you one of the people who stays here until midnight? Do you have the quote dedication to do that?
Are you asking me?
No, I'm making a statement.
Oh, I don't have the dedication to do that.
Exactly.
I mean, I have to work 100 hours.
No sane person would want to be forced to do that. And so, yeah, that brings up the argument. Forced? No. Nobody is, quote, forced. Nobody, quote, has to. Nobody, quote, job is going to be affected by this. But yeah, when it comes down to well, do you want a promotion or whatever? Your productivity is going to be taken into account. And if your productivity is only off of 8 hours, but John Boyega's productivity is off of 16, then who's going to be looking better? The person who's working more, because obviously you're getting more in 16 than you are, 8.
So Apex aside, Respawn continues to be one of my favorite. I think the mantle right now is Ubisoft. Ubisoft is one of my favorite developer, publishers, video game company in the industry right now. Respawn is catching up very close, and for a multitude of reasons. When Respawn was first founded, by Jason West and Vince Zampella from Infinity Ward, when we found out that the guys who helped create and easily one of the best shooters ever made, COD 4, Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare, and I don't think they had a hand in Modern Warfare 2, but that's been so long ago. When they split off and made Respawn, I was like, okay, easily those games were my favorite map designs, my favorite in terms of gameplay. Let's see what they can do. And they come out with Titanfall. And Titanfall was a revolutionary shooter because that's when we first got the introduction of widespread jump packs, the advanced movement shooter. And I was like, okay, that's cool. And then as they've been growing, as they've been developing, as they've been putting out new games, they are developing this clout. I don't like using that word, but clout, and really showing the industry, hey, this is what we need to be striving towards. These guys are putting in the work they need to, but not overdoing it, and are still putting out hit after hit after hit, and just stellar games. Maybe not critically, yes. Maybe not like Titanfall 2 is the best example of it. Was just sent out to die, but it was still a fantastic game by all means.
Yeah. But on the reverse end, you have BioWare, who
started out great.
started out great, and then because of pressure and because of this and that, like now they put out Anthem, and it's like
And then when we hear things about Respawn basically telling EA, no, this is not how we're going to do things, we're going to do it the way we're going to do it,
right,
it makes me respect them even more. You know, I don't want to make EA, I don't want to be in the echo chamber of, oh, EA, you know, EA, but we're clearly seeing stuff at EA that is just not right. And seeing Respawn have that much impact to be like, no, we're going to do it our own way, makes me respect them even more. Makes me really strive to continue to see what they're going to do.
Yeah.
You know, they're obviously, and we're not going to get into it too heavy because it's a giant conversation in the industry of crunch and all that stuff. And obviously there's stuff that needs to change, but it helps. It always helps the conversation, because for at least the past few years, it was anytime we were hearing about crunch, it was someone who was previously working there that decided to go under, like, off the record and give a statement. But when we see companies like Ubisoft, like Respawn, giving actual public statements saying, hey, we know you guys want content, we appreciate that, but we got to do what's best for us. Of course, you're going to have a lot of people that are like, I want the content now, I don't agree with that. But most of the video game industry respects that and says, okay, take your time, that's fine.
Yeah. I mean, it definitely makes you kind of rethink what we've been saying over the last little bit. And that is obviously that, like, hey, we want more content. It definitely makes you rethink it, knowing that, because I mean, that was one reason we decided to include it in the episode, because here we are like, oh, we want more content. Yeah. And then they came out with that. It's like, oh, that's why we're not getting content, you know? I mean, I still think to a certain extent that they did fumble the ball, in the sense that, like, even something as simple as like challenges seem like a pretty simple thing that they could have had from the very beginning and keep people coming back literally on a daily basis, because you want to get that daily, right? Things like that, or just things like the game modes or whatever. And part of that is getting chalked up to, you know, they worked really hard on their balancing. And I totally agree with that, you know, it being really balanced. I feel like this is the least I've heard the term broken about a video game, because anytime you get like classes and stuff, you always be like, oh, this class is broken and this, but like Octane came out, and I want to say in general, nobody was like, oh my God, this is so broken.
No, nobody. I mean, there were some people who, you know, a lot of people like us who were like, oh, the jump pad's stupid. Like it's like, okay, that's weird for being ultimate. And then actually playing, I was like, oh, okay. No, like there was nothing about it. There was nothing about it that was broken. Now, in retrospect of all the things I've said about Apex so far and Respawn and the past episodes, the still biggest complaint that I have with Respawn is just communication.
Yeah. And that is one thing that they point out in their update, is that that's one thing that they're going to make a focus moving forward.
This statement alone, when I saw that, I was like, okay, they're starting that path. You know, the still the biggest perpetrator in our generation right now, like at least in this gaming cycle, of course, is Treyarch and Call of Duty just not communicating and just continuing to put out BS. Like, so when I saw that statement from Respawn, I'm like, okay, they're starting a track of being able to communicate more. And I can, being far away from the release now, I can kind of see maybe why there wasn't as much communication, because it was a new game. They were trying to figure out what exactly to do. They didn't want to be reactionary by making statements to everyone having a complaint. So hopefully this, like I said, is the start of them being more vocal and like talking with more, like the fact that, and I'm not a big Reddit guy, so anybody who's listening who's a big Reddit guy probably are just going to put off what I say. But when I check the subreddit, because Apex Legends subreddit is the only subreddit as of recently that I constantly check, it's always nice to see a developer or someone in the developing field at Respawn talking in there, giving a statement about something. I don't know if that's common in other gaming subreddits. I really don't, because Reddit's not a platform I use a whole lot, but that's something nice to see. Having one person be like, hey guys, we understand your frustrations. This is something that, like, take a look at this. Think about this instead. Like that's great. Because that's what you want. That's what we want. You know, we don't want, and gaming and the industry has seen that in the past few years. We don't want entities give us personalities that we can latch on to and identify with. You know, you think Shuhei Yoshida, you think Jack Tritton, you think all the way back, talking about PlayStation, you think all the way back to, oh God, what was his name? The guy in the PlayStation commercials.
Kevin Bacon. Kevin Bacon.
No, it's Kevin. Yeah.
Kevin Butler. Yeah. That's why I got the bacon in there, because it started with a B. And also
bacon. But you think about him, like that was a PlayStation icon. Like you thought PlayStation, you thought him. So you have Phil Spencer. We're seeing more people, like, instead of being like, hey, it's Xbox. Hey, look, it's Phil Spencer from Xbox. He's talking to us.
Right.
Humanize these companies, humanize what's going on, and we can relate to them a lot more and be more receptive to anything you're going to say, really, honestly. Like if Respawn came out, like a statement from Respawn, now we understand, but it's better if it comes from Vince Zampella from Respawn or the marketing director from Respawn instead of just Respawn.
Yeah. And I mean, it does kind of make me feel silly now, because it's like, oh man, if we would have just waited or whatever. But it's also like, you still have people out there complaining about the lack of content. And I'm just like, I don't know. I like getting this information. Was it the information that we wanted? Was it the information we, quote, deserve? Maybe not. But I am much more happy with the situation now than I was before. And also, I'm just happy to market shit. What am I trying to say? What am I trying to say? God damn it. Support. There we go. Okay. Market again. I'm happy to support Respawn. This alone makes me want to try out Fallen Order. Like, I was interested before, and it was like, yeah, I might try it. I'll wait to see what I see about it. But this alone makes me want to support it, just because it's like, I understand that they actually give a crap. You know what I mean? And like that won't be the only reason I buy it. Another reason might be because it's actually Star Wars. You know what I mean? But I'm just saying that's a huge selling point for me now, is the fact that I can feel morally sound in buying a game that has Respawn on it. I can feel morally sound, playing a game like Apex, now that I know that, hey, they at least care about the people, and that's just saying something, especially, and I mean, I don't want to be that guy, but obviously I have to, but especially since they are from EA, essentially. The fact that they've gained their independence, the fact that, they're not using like Frostbite in the new Star Wars game, and little things like that, just yell out how independent they are, even though, yes, we do have to have like EA's money or whatever.
I feel like the start of this next gaming generation, this next console generation, is going to be very interesting, because at the end of this generation, just EA's never been in a good corner, but they've always been competent. They've always, even no matter what people thought about them, they still put out stuff that was decent. You think Battlefield, you think the sports games in particular. But I feel like especially starting with Battlefront 2 and that whole thing, that just kind of started a snowball effect where we're diving more deep into EA than we had prior, and realize, hey guys, there's something wrong here. Like, something is not right. And a lot more people are being, just because we've talked about it more, not us, but people who are passionate about the industry. We've been having these conversations of crunch and having these conversations of microtransactions and things like that. I'm really interested to see how this generation is going to start. If we're going to see what my mind is going to is, are we going to start see more independent type work rather than relying on conglomerates like EA and Activision? Of course, they're still going to need their money, but are we going to start seeing people make more of a stance of being like, stop, like, just stop. Like, let us do what we're going to do. I feel like we're on the rise of that. I feel like we're on the rise of independent thoughts and independent, I don't want to say creators, because of course there's an indie scene, but in terms of basically these developers taking the reins back
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if we're on the precipice of that.
Yeah. I mean, games are made by gamers, but they're run by millionaires. And so having a game that's like this, that is run by gamers, and they're still making decisions, even though they could totally go down the money hungry route. I mean, and they could just use EA as a scapegoat, but instead making decisions like this and basically saying no. Saying no is probably the most important part about it, is that they're saying no. We don't need, a new update every other week or something like that, because look at Fortnite. Yeah, they have a new thing every week that completely F's with them, with the meta, but it's at the cost of 100-hour work weeks. 100 hours. I'm gonna go back to that, because I'll point out the exact same thing that I pointed out before. This game has been out for a while, and it's still having crunch. Like, I feel like, correct me if I'm wrong, Nate, but I feel like when you heard about crunch, it was to meet certain milestones. It was to meet a deadline. But being under like constant crunch after a game's been out for a while, and literally all you have to do is, here's a new skin, here's a new weird, wrecking ball thingy, like that kind of stuff. Like, why is there still crunch? Why is it taking like 100 hours to do like skins and stuff? I'm not saying that's the only thing they're doing. Obviously, they make big changes to the map and everything, but essentially, the big changes to the map only happen like maybe a few times per season or something, right?
Massive changes happen like once a season. Minor changes in that map happens maybe 2-3 at the most.
Yeah,
but no, your thought process is right. Crunch is typically associated with meeting deadlines and meeting demands for getting a game to come out, Anthem being the biggest one. Granted, Anthem was a special case because they rewrote that game who knows how many times. Well, we actually know a kind of idea of how many times, but I think it's the same thing with Fortnite. Even though it's been out forever, I don't know if this is Epic's fault or if this is the consumer's fault, because Fortnite is such a big deal. But on a week-to-week basis, on a consistent basis, they are having to meet demands, either because of this format they've put out themselves or because of demand from players. But I think it's the same thing. They're having to, which I wouldn't be surprised if Fortnite, and this could cause the downturn of Fortnite to a very minor extent. I wouldn't be surprised if they maybe after 2019, maybe fall in the next year, if they were like, all right, look, we did this way for 2 years now. We're gonna try something different. I really don't know. I don't know if they're going to change anything. I really, really don't. But what I agree with you on the other part. But what I will add on to that is, this has been out for a while. Why can't, and it's been so successful, why can't they have, I'm not a game developer. I'm just a guy talking into a microphone. So take what I say with a grain of salt. But why can't they have the resources to avoid 100-hour work weeks?
Yeah.
Why can't they have more than one person work? And they probably do. Well, but why is someone working 100 hours for a game that's been out this long?
Yeah. It's just ridiculous.
And that may be the nature of battle royale games, because that they're driven and run by constant updates. Maybe it's a problem with the format. I don't think so. I think if you're like Respawn, who is following this format and really excelling on it, but also if you look, we talked about it last episode, look at the numbers. What is Apex doing? What is Fortnite doing? There's still a big difference in between those two.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's a very tricky, complicated situation to even talk about, honestly, because again, we're not on the team. It would be great if we got some developers on to talk about this, which that's something that we might try to do if we can get, it's not super easy, but I'd love to have a conversation about that, to get some insight on that, to see what that's like, why that would still be a case in 2019.
Yeah. And if it gets updates out faster, I don't know. Is it worth it? Is it worth it? No, I just don't personally think so. Now we're still hypocrites, because even right now, I would love some more content. You know, I would love some more stuff. And I think they even kind of address it in the post, the blog post or whatever. And they pretty much address the fact that like they weren't really expecting this to do as good as it did. But I feel like at this point, that's not a good enough excuse, because it's like after 3 days, you should have known that, hey, it's going to be doing good.
Yeah. I can agree. It's, although leading back to that statement, I'm a little bit more understanding.
Yes.
Of what's going on, instead of being like, you guys aren't saying anything, and now you are. I'm like, okay, now that you said something, I understand the situation.
Yeah, and I think that is the biggest. If that's the biggest takeaway, other than thank God they actually treat their workers right. If that's the biggest takeaway, I think that's, I just hope they actually. I hope they stick to it, because saying you're going to be more communicative and actually being communicative is obviously going to be two separate things, and we need to see that they care. We need to see that it's gonna matter.
So this is going to be a little bit out of left field, but I feel like it's important to this conversation we're having. It's not Apex in the absolute slightest, but I watched a video the other day about, it was a great video essay, but it was this guy talking about God of War a year later. And he starts off the video essay by saying that he used to play games for a certain reason. It was his way of escapism kind of thing. But what he hit on was the fact of, if you go back and playing games back then, like the original God of Wars and everything like that, they had this magic to them. They had this like, oh, I'm playing this game, and it was a special experience. And then he hits on, nowadays, he doesn't really feel that magic anymore, whether it's with live service games or the games that are being put out, which we've had this conversation before, primarily targeted about microtransactions, where it seems like the game is coming second to making the money.
Microtransactions around Randy Pitchford. I mean, you'll just
which is another topic. That was fantastic. I enjoyed that entire thread. But his state, he basically was saying like the magic from video games seems to not be there anymore, because it feels like games nowadays are more focused in terms of a business sense. And then that's when he brings into, I felt like that until I played God of War 2018.
Yep.
And talked about how it was just like playing a game. And I was watching, he had a gameplay footage, and it made me want to go back and play God of War, because I realized that was such a magic experience that I really didn't know at that time. And I think back to me playing it, I'm like, that game feels like something I would have played in 2005. Feels like that game feels like the same magic I got in a good way. That game feels like the same magic I would have got going to a local Blockbuster or a movie gallery, if you guys had those.
Oh my God.
A movie gallery, and being like, that game looks really cool. I'm going to take that off the shelf. I'm going to try it. It made me think back to those days. And the reason I'm bringing this up is it goes back to what I just said about what this next generation is going to be like. Throughout the gaming industry since its inception, it's done nothing but go up and up and up in terms of it's constantly evolving, constantly changing. I feel like with everything that's going on, that we could see a whiplash effect coming soon, where people are going to start, either there's going to be an outrage, or people are going to start realizing, hey, let's make games again.
Yeah. And I think the thing to point out is that I don't want to just stroke, Sony's big one, but one thing to point out is that it does have 100% to do with the developers and the people who are funding it. And I'm not saying that it's 100% because of Sony. However, if you look at all the Sony-led projects, they get really good review scores, and they come out when they're done. Name the last Sony game that was just an absolute mess. Obviously, Days Gone. So that doesn't count.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I would say Days Gone.
I was setting for that one.
Really,
you know what I mean? Like it's very rare that a Sony game comes out, and it's because Sony gives them like
the last one I would think of, honestly, would be Drive Club. That would be the last one that I could think of. I know, I did. Okay. The last one I could think of would be Drive Club, because that at launch was kind of a mess.
Yeah, but even in general, like, see, now you got me off my kilter. What was I saying?
what was the last game that came out that was broken? Where Sony typically puts out finished games when they're done.
Yeah. Last Guardian. The Last Guardian was in development for how long? And they
10 years.
They let them keep going because it was from a trusted developer. Now there probably was still crunch. I don't want to try to play like the savior or anything. There might have still been crunch, especially around like when it was time to finally come out or whatever. However, like you'd imagine that the reason it took them so long is because they weren't working so much hours. I don't know. I would hope so. I'm going to probably put my foot in my ass when freaking Polygon puts out Last Guardian had 200-hour work week.
Good old Polygon.
The point is that there are plenty of things out there. So like when people have like conjectures about like video game crash, video games aren't going to crash. EA is going to crash. Activision is going to crash. But the companies that actually put effort and actually put innovations into their gameplay, like I'll go back to Ubisoft because you were sucking theirs just a little bit ago. Division came out and it was, I don't know, better. What?
Division 2 is a testament of how a live service game should be. It literally checks off all of the boxes. It's I don't want to say it's perfect, but it's close to being perfect. It's close to being what that needs to be. Content right out of the gate. It's not locking you behind anything. It's giving you so much stuff right off the bat. And then they're just steadily, continuously adding more. Now, the only problem with it, and something we've run into multiple times, is some of the changes that they make it confusing for us in terms of like abilities and things like that. Talking about but that's minor,
right?
When Destiny 1 came out, everyone's like, oh, this was cool from the guys who made Halo, but I don't have anything to do. Like I beat it when it came out and I had no incentive to go do anything else after I beat the campaign. I was like, okay, this is boring, but I've never gotten bored in the Division ever.
Yeah. I mean, it's just, you interrupted me again. So I don't know where I was going. No, but my point is that like they're actually worried about putting out good games. Now obviously Ubisoft being one of the top like 3 companies or whatever, obviously they still want to make money. So they have like the 8 different collector's editions or whatever, which is BS on its own merits. But at least they put out a good game on top of that rather than instead of, which is what EA and Activision do, is that they put out a good game like Black Ops and then they just run it into the ground and they just dig deep and they just dig hard.
It's that's that. Me and you off air have had a lot of conversations about microtransactions. We really probably should have recorded some of them because they were very entertaining. Mm-hmm. But I've never seen, and I've said it before, but I'll say it again. I want to reiterate it because I want it to stop. I've never seen it
one time. I say it a million times.
I say it once, say it twice. I've never seen a more egregious ploy to like the Black Ops 4. I feel like its only purpose is to take money from people. I've never, ever seen a more egregious ploy to get money out of people.
And so, so when people are talking about like the video game crash, I don't believe it, because you can't have a year with God of War out and other games. Like the same year people were bitching about single player being dead, like Santa Monica was just like, hold my beer. Like,
yeah, exactly. And Spider-Man,
Yeah, exactly.
I agree with you. I don't think games are going to crash. I think companies are going to crash.
Yeah, and they need to. They really need to, because EA and Activision in particular can't just get away with, making the decisions over and over and over again. It's like BioWare, a perfect example. BioWare wanted Dragon Age Inquisition to fail so that they could show EA that this is not the way you make a video game. And instead it did good, and that's how we got Anthem.
EA wasn't all at fault for Anthem. They were a lot of it, but you know,
well, right. I'm just saying that the workplace that they cultivated through the making of Dragon Age, and I mean, even like the higher ups at BioWare, it showed them that you can still treat people like this. You know, either way, you have companies that do actually treat people. You know, I don't know what's the word. Good.
Favorable. Right. I mean, it's
right.
But
well, I mean, this was much longer discussion than I thought it was going to be.
Going back to Respawn,
got into it. Boy.
Going back to Respawn needs to continue and is continuing to be a shining example of how development should be. Is it what all the gamers want? No, because a lot of gamers want content. They want content now. It's my money. I need it now.
I love that you went there.
I'm glad you got a laugh out of that. But it's great to see them putting out fantastic content at the same time, keeping their integrity and not giving up their integrity. This whole episode really, I mean, it dived into industry talk, but the whole purpose of this episode, honestly, was just to tell, just for Respawn to say, we love what you guys are doing. And
right.
Like, just we didn't want to make it just like an add-on like it was in the last episode that they made this statement. We really wanted to dive deep into it, which obviously we have, but when they make a statement like that, it speaks volumes, and it means so much to not only gamers, but to other people in the industry. I want to know how many other industry vets and how many other people in different development teams wanted to be like, thank you guys. Thank you for that. You know, but you know, I think I don't want to say gamers rise up, but at the same time, like, we need to be more vocal in a good way. We don't need to be just volatile. We need to rise up, honestly, and say, hey, we don't like what you're doing. We don't like the practices that you're doing. And the best way to do it, honestly, is to vote with your wallet. Everybody says it, but vote with your wallet. And I think people are.
That's why I didn't buy Battlefield 5.
Exactly.
I mean,
a lot of people
played the demo, and the demo actually did make me go, okay, maybe they did learn, but I voted with my wallet. Same thing with Battlefront 2. So many people got on my ass about Battlefront 2. And, you don't know what you're talking about. It's much better. They've learned. They've listened to their fans. And then, well,
see, I'll argue that one of the things that me and Anthony have talked about, my friend Anthony, one of the things we've talked about a lot is that
you don't have to keep saying your friend Anthony. I think we understand that you have a friend named Anthony now.
Okay, I'm gonna mark that. I'll do it again.
No, leave it in.
One of the things that I've talked with Anthony about.
Who's Anthony?
Oh, you're such an asshole. You're such an asshole. One of the things.
Your friend?
Oh
your
my God.
Brother? Is he an acquaintance? Is he a rando from online?
One of the things I've talked about with Anthony from Faster Than Reloading is
name
drop plug for him is that because we're both big Star Wars guys. The fact of we much prefer. Content-wise, Battlefront 2 is better, but when Battlefront 2 came out, it was a completely different game. Like, we both enjoyed how Battlefront 1 played, the mechanics of it. When Battlefront 2 came out, they completely changed everything, and both of us were like, why did you do that? Like, there was no reason to do that. The gameplay was just fine. I mean, the gameplay was fun. It wasn't a whole lot there, but it's you know, of course, the original Battlefronts were still way better, but that's the only thing I would argue there is I don't agree with that. I think content-wise, Battlefront 2 is better, just in the sense of, like, I enjoy the Clone Wars content. Like, I think there's a lot more there, but in terms of pure gameplay, I have way more fun with Battlefront 1 than I do 2.
Yeah. True. So that's the end of the show.
Hello, my baby. Hello, money.
Hello, my rock-time girl.
Baby, my heart's on fire.
Yeah, I don't know. Then you have, you know, tools like Drifter still making his video about how, I want more content. Give me more content. Afterwards, putting out a video about mental health. It's like, okay.
I didn't actually. Okay. I started the video, the Apex video, and I fell asleep because I watched it late at night, so I didn't actually finish it. So
it's essentially him saying he wants content. You know, And then it's just ironic. I'm not saying he did it on purpose, but it's ironic that the next video he put out was about mental health. It's just, it kind of irks me the wrong way when he's like, I want more content because I'm a streamer and I play this game 50 hours a day. And then he's like, oh, hey, mental health is really important. You should talk to somebody if you feel sad. It's like, fuck you, dude. like the fact that he's not even like acknowledging the fact, and I don't know when the video was made, but the fact that like he didn't like acknowledge the fact that Respawn put out the message about, because I want to say the video came out after before. No, it came out after the message, because it came out after our episode. So that means because of our episode, it told Respawn to put out their freaking tweet.
Yeah. Okay.
They have some algorithm robot that as soon as we post something, they're like, okay, here's a.
But that is something, because we talked about it in the pre-show. Check out the Patreon for the pre-show. That is something we talked about, that we're noticing a lot of streamers and content creators are talking about the state of the game. Everybody's talking about the state of the game, but and it makes me wonder if they're doing it. They, of course, are doing it to give their side of what's going on with their content, but it also makes me wonder if they are doing that in hopes that something will come of it, and not in a bad way. I'm not saying that in a bad way towards anybody, but I know that if I think back to like past Call of Duty situations, like Advanced Warfare or Infinite Warfare, where the community was vocal about, hey, we don't like this game. And then they're not saying that, but a lot of content creators who are COD content creators were like, look, you need to change this. Like, this is affecting me, but it's also affecting these other creators in this game as a whole. So it makes me wonder if it's that kind of same mentality. I don't know. You know, but it also does seem like a hot topic to talk about the state of the game. So,
well, yeah, and if he,
because we've talked about it a lot.
Well, no, and if he didn't already had something about it, like, I guess I'm just wondering when it came out, because it was really weird that it came out right around the same time as what you call it? Ah, shit. I got distracted.
So that video came out 4 days ago, titled Apex Legends is on life support.
Yeah. See, so that was my point. My point is that he put that out after them making their statement, and maybe I didn't see the part where he addressed it, but as far as I know, he didn't address the fact that Respawn came out and talked about it. So that's kind of my issue with that is that us talking about it, and I'm still like, in a way, I'm still kind of like ashamed of myself to a certain extent, because it's like, oh man, I can't believe I can't believe that information came out after, which is obviously their fault. They did it. But it's like, I do to a certain extent. It was like, now I feel like an ass because I want more content. And then they tell us why they're not giving us more content. I believe them. So, I mean, maybe he doesn't believe them. I don't know.
I don't know. I don't know. We'll have to figure out something with Apex. Just I don't know. I don't know where I'm going with that.
I mean, we can maybe take this part out if you're worried about it. You want to get shade from Mr. Drifter himself.
I think there's parts we can keep in. I might cut out the fuck Drifter at the beginning. You didn't say fuck Drifter, but you know what I'm saying.
But fuck Drifter.
But fuck. So where do you want to go with this now?
I don't know. I
mean, we're going 44 minutes, so
I feel like this was a really good talk.
Yeah,
it was a really good.
I might just to get shit off of our backs in terms of people saying, "Well, you didn't talk about Apex." I might, when we go back in, say, although this wasn't Apex heavy, it was a great, you know what I'm saying? Like address the fact of, I know we didn't talk a whole
lot.
Well,
it was Apex enough. If someone's going to bitch about us not talking about Apex when we're talking about Respawn, honestly, fuck them. I don't care because I'm going to talk about whatever the fuck I want to talk about because it's my goddamn show.
The PR in me.
No, I feel like the future of Apex is what we were talking about because we were talking about the future of Respawn. So I feel like we don't have to justify that. And if somebody wants us to, then I don't know. I don't even think I'll respond because it probably won't be a good one.
Fair.
All right. Do you just want to, what you call it?
Sign out
or whatever?
Yeah, probably.
So if you guys have been wondering, don't mark it yet. If you guys have been wondering what I've been doing, I've been in the training in Apex. I've just been fucking around.
I've been wondering what your eyes have been doing because your eyes have been like focusing. I'm like, what are you doing? What are you reading?
So there's this. First off, do you know the trick where if you shoot one of the targets and then you stand on it, you can fling yourself?
No.
Yep. So one of the human-shaped things, you shoot it, it'll go down, you stand on it, and then it'll fling you. So what I've been doing is I've been going up to the tallest tower right above where the map is on the training. I've gone to the tallest tower, and there's a target up there. So then I shoot the target, stand on the target, and I get flung like a really long ways. So that's what I've been doing almost this entire time. It's really fun. That and then just going around the map in general. Like I got my Kraber and I was like shooting at, like I didn't know over by the drop ship. So on the left you have like the monster, the big like long-legged monsters, and on the right you actually have the drop ship. Well, over by the drop ship is a couple of targets, but they're way the hell out there. So then that kind of gets you used to using like the scope, for instance. On the scope you have 2, 3, 4. Well, that's if it's, see, this is 300 meters away. So I got to go to the 3 and then shoot there. And then I hit it.
The 3.
Yeah. So if you look at a scope, one that's meant to be a long distance scope, you'll up and down, heading downwards, you'll have a 2, 3, 4. That's how many 100 meters. So like on this, I'll look at this over here. Let me see. This target right here is, oh, that's a bad example because that's like 87. Here, I'll pick this flagpole right here. This flagpole, or this light right here, is 100 meters away. So, I mean, I know that it's going to hit almost right on. But then like this flagpole over here, let me find something 200 away. This is not a good example. I don't know, but like there's targets over there and it's 360. So if I go to the 3 on the scope, so I'm aiming up and I'm lining it up with the 3 rather than the center of my scope, and then I fire, I hit it.
Do you feel like you've been having more fun in the training than you have in actual matches?
No.
Well, I mean, that sounds fun, like just playing around with the different mechanics of stuff, because I know that I personally like pre-show guys, because obviously this is getting cut out. I think the problem I'm getting into in terms of this show is that I feel like I'm doing okay in Apex. Like when I'm playing okay. I'm just not having the same amount of fun with it.
Yeah, I get that. And I think that is, unfortunately, that is partially to do with the content, because we're not getting as much as we want, you know? And that is the hypocritical side of us, is that we do want more content. That we can't deny that. But I'd like them to find a good medium between not overworking your staff, but still giving us stuff. Because I feel like other than the battle pass, which I'm going to be a dick and say, how much did that really take for them to do? You know, I don't know. But to me, it's like the skins weren't like overly complicated. So it was really just palette changes,
Yeah.
So I don't know. All right, let's just go ahead and log it out. All righty. All right, so that is going to be the show. I mean, I feel like that was a really good discussion about like the future of Apex, and this time it was a little bit more positive because we got to talk about it from the industry standpoint. And I feel like that was a really good thing to do, And I always try. I mean, behind the scenes for everybody, I always try to follow up a critical episode with a more positive episode, and sometimes it might be a little bit of a stretch, but we do it anyways. And that's why part of the reasons why we had like our rankings, because it's like I wanted to do something positive. Hubcast, usually we're critical of it, and that's because we love it, we want it to succeed. And then Hop Up, since it's a lot more casual, that's when I try to go, hey, this is why we love the game, so let's rank this, let's rank that. And so that's kind of what I've been trying to do. And this time just worked out that they released all the information about why content hasn't come out. And of course, the last episode is when we kind of complained about the content. So I just felt like this was a perfect subject to talk about, because it's not just about Apex, it's about Respawn, it's about the industry in general. And so I really like where Respawn is right now. I still feel like they do need to find a happy medium between not overworking their staff and putting out more stuff. But like, I don't know if I'm going to be as critical as I was before.
Agreed. I just to go back to the sentiments we've said along the show, we'll be a lot more tolerable, in terms of certain things. But the biggest thing I have going to look forward to is just the communication, and they've addressed that they're going to be more communicative when it comes to content, when it comes to the game and stuff like that. And so I think Apex is heading in the right direction. We all know that it's in a state of a lull right now, but I honestly think that it's going to hit its rise really soon. It's going to hit its stride, and I think it's going to keep pushing forward.
Yeah, pushing through it, just like a good kidney stone.
Or poop.
All right. Thank you guys so much for joining us for this episode of the Hop Up Cast. Make sure to go to our Twitter at Apex Legends Cast or Apex Legends Hubcast at gmail.com, and you can contact us there. The last, I forgot what I was going to say. I don't know. I'll mark that. Sorry. So we'll make sure to come back next Friday, where we'll have our regular Hubcast, and also look out for more information about Nerd Radio. We're really excited about that. We're working on that, and it's in a really good spot. I can't wait to show you guys more about it, and we'll definitely be giving little commercials and stuff, like little samples and everything as we go. But I can't wait to show you guys what we have in mind, because it's one thing to have a commercial tell you what we hope to do. It's another thing to actually show you. And so I can't wait to show you guys Nerd Radio. So thank you so much, Nate, for joining us.
You're welcome, sir.
And thank you guys for joining us. We'll see you down in Kings Canyon, where it's going to be legend. Wait for it. Welcome to the post show. Post show. Welcome to the post show. You sick motherfuckers. I am so fucking hot. Here goes the shirt. Oh, man. Damn it! I hit my monitor. I really got to figure out what I'm going to do for the summer. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because it's let me see, what degrees is it? What degrees? What degrees is it? That is not even seriously, why? Why couldn't you have just told me? Now I have to go
ask what the weather is.
What the weather? Tell me. No. I want to know. I want it all.
I want it
all.
What's
the weather like?
I want it all.
Sunny in.
Yeah, so it's only 63 degrees. It's not that fucking hot. But because I'm in like a closet, I have the fan going too, which I hate because that, obviously is creating sound in the background or whatever. But god damn it gets hot in here, But that's what I do. That's what I do for you guys. Are you fucking happy?
Yes.
Oh, okay, good. No doubt. Oh man. I am like, now this is the serious me talking now. I am actually like genuinely like glad because, I always kind of made the joke. I always made the joke that, oh yeah, that's right. This is an EA game, so I should hate it or whatever. But now just seeing how disconnected they are really makes me feel good about the situation. Because like it was so easy for Respawn to come out and be like, EA had nothing to do with this development cycle or whatever. But them actually proving it by their actions is very reassuring. Because that's what really shows me that EA has nothing to do with it. The fact that they can do whatever the hell they want and they have the workforce and the work environment to do whatever the hell they want, that proves to me not just words. You know what I mean?
What's blowing my mind,
blowing your mind,
it's just like you're saying how disenfranchised
uncle.
Just like how disenfranchised EA is actually being. Like the EA, of course, is an evil. Like EA is not an entity. EA is made of people. How out of the entire staff of EA are they either it's they're tone deaf or they're just late. They're just late and delayed. Because we see that they're reactionary because, Battlefield 5 is a prime example. They had the premium pass for Battlefield for years since Battlefield 3, and they saw the backlash after Battlefront 2 and was like, look, all the stuff is free for Battlefield 5. So they are reactionary, but it's
any good. Hey,
it's not just EA. In all these situations, it's a conglomerate of different things. I feel like the one that's easy to say in these gaming situations is Activision and Black Ops 4 because there's no reason for it. I don't want to keep talking about it, but there's
money.
but it's one of those things. Like all of these games want to make money. How is it okay to have 6 monetization models in that game? It's not. It's honestly not. Like I kind of wish somebody. There's nothing they can do about it. There's nothing legally they can do about it. But I want someone to put an investigation into it because it's like that's gross. It's absolutely gross.
Like your face.
Like my face. There's no. Like I don't.
Oh my god! I get it. I finally get it.
What?
The Peacekeeper has a star pattern, like a sheriff. And the 8 has an 8 pattern, which I already knew that. But it's like, I didn't even think about it that way. The Peacekeeper is the lawmaker, and so he has a star pattern, like a fucking, wow.
I gotta be honest, Lawmaker's a better name than Peacekeeper. If it was the Lawmaker, I was like, okay, that'd be pretty dope.
Yeah, dope like your pussy.
Boogers.
Boogers. You're so gross.
I've got a lot of stuff to do tomorrow. I really want to see in-game, but I don't know if I'm going to. I got to go turn in my equipment tomorrow, which is going to be early in the morning, but I also want to clean this room since I'm buying those desks this weekend.
You know what you should do?
What?
Cry about it.
I should cry about it. Fuck
you, man. Fuck you.
Do you know if anyone's seen in-game multiple times in our group?
I don't know. Why does that matter? I don't know. Let's cut the post show before we start talking about stuff like that.
I'm not going to talk about spoilers.
Oh, okay. Well, I think it's time to stop it anyways. Nick
already took a shirt
off. We're starting to
so.
taper off.
Yeah,
I don't want to bore you guys too much with like mundane stuff. So thank you guys for supporting us. I think our live stream will be about mid-month this month rather than right at the fucking end. And then I'm not sure what we're gonna do for our extra podcast. That's definitely still up in the air. So that's something we'll keep you guys posted on.
Okay, bye.
Okay, bye.